Hey, what's up, everybody? I recently finished a very intriguing science fiction novel by Daniel F. Galouye called Dark Universe. This book was a Hugo Award nominee written in 1961. This book has been on my list since I read Books Do Furnish a Life, wherein the author recommends Dark Universe. Dark Universe does the Plato's Cave thing, and it does this in a way that incites a deep sense of wonder and reflection. If you aren't aware, the allegory of Plato's cave shows that what we sense as our reality is what we assume to be the objective reality. But then one day we obtain some new way of seeing things, and it's revealed that there's an entire universe outside of this proverbial cave we've been living in. Imagine some cave dwelling beings whose only visual experience is being able to see their shadows on the wall of the cave they live in. It's an extremely limited sensory experience, but to them, it's just what reality is. But then, one day, an exit to the cave is made available, and the beings come out and discover and see and hear and taste and experience an entire world outside the cave that they never would have imagined existed. Reality turned out to be much more than what their senses led them to assume. This concept was really brought into the mainstream in the late 1990s with films like The Matrix and The Truman Show. If you were moved by those movies, you'll probably enjoy Dark Universe. In Dark Universe, we follow Jared, who's a member of the descendants of survivors of nuclear war, which resulted in the small amount of surviving humans being forced to live in underground societies with no light for untold generations. But it's long enough that the people were able to evolve an acute sense of echolocation to the degree of being able to easily sense changes in facial expression and bodily gesture. Yeah, and to everyone who loved how thoughtful it was in Leviathan Wakes that the spacesuit people developed special hand gestures to use in the spacesuits to take the place of the facial and body cues, rightfully so, but Dark Universe was doing that kind of thing back in 1961. It's the things like this, all the attention to these details and the handling of the story that really impressed me with this book. This author really put some thought into this, and it makes this a very rewarding read. So the only concept of light and dark that these people have has survived only in myths. Of course, they can't conceive of a visual experience any more than a deaf person can appreciate the difference between a trombone and a trumpet. So, our hero's motivation is that he is searching for the meaning of light and dark that he's heard so much about. And to make this world more interesting, at some point, the human line had diverged into the echolocators like Jared and another branch of humans who can detect infrared radiation. So, you have more than one kind of human, and naturally, humans being humans, these groups are enemies. That's another thing. This world is incredibly hostile with intertribal danger and monster attacks constantly. It's amazing that anyone survives in this world. My only criticism for Dark Universe is that it can seem at times like it takes a little while before anything truly significant happens. The first four-fifths of the book is pretty good, but not always great. But it's when we learn toward the end the explanation for the situation that Jared and everyone he knows is in that really makes this book special. When you learn everything at the end, you'll be thinking, man, someone needs to write more books about this. The final exposition just blows this tale wide open and allows the reader to appreciate the handling of the first parts of the story much more. Not only was the end very good, but it actually makes everything that happens prior much more interesting than you may have felt that it was as you were reading through those parts. It's this approach that gives this book its special quality, and it's an experience that shouldn't be missed. This is a good book to reflect on after you read it. After Jared's proverbial cave is blown open, it may occur to you that he's now simply in a much larger cave. You realize the situation at the end is still susceptible to causing him to assume that this new reality is the objective reality, only to end up having that cave blown open again. You realize there may not ever be a way to perceive reality for what it truly is, only according to the limitations imposed by nature. We seem to be living in an infinite series of caves within caves within caves. This is a truly humbling look at our perspective. That's the dark universe. I would recommend this book to sci fi fans, although the sci fi elements don't become apparent until later towards the end of the book. This was an enjoyable and quick read, less than 200 pages, and it's one of those books that you continue to think about after you've read it. It's full of interesting concepts and has a very good ending. After reading this book, I'll be looking for more from this author. He's written a number of books, including The Infinite Man and Simulacron 3, which I just put in my shopping cart. Okay, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in a confined, dark world with some big ideas and a very cathartic ending, and you want a story that'll give you something to think about, check out Dark Universe by Daniel F. Galouye.